So it's not often I feel compelled to show you the box that a watch arrived in, but having a handwritten serial number is a pretty nice touch. Hey guys, it's Alex with Hammond Watch. I really don't do unboxing videos very often. To me, a box is a box. You know, I keep them around for resale value, but not much beyond that. But this being my first experience with UNIMATIC as a brand, I must say I am pretty impressed with the case they ship these things in. These are not flimsy kind of look-alike cases. It's really heavy duty, and as someone that has a couple Pelican cases, I feel like it's really right on par. And it was a little bit surprising. I mean, it's very heavy. It all clasps in very nice and snug. I think it just offers a really nice presentation to the watch. The watch itself is the Modello Do. It's the Model 2. I'm a big fan of this watch, but it always been a little hesitant to try it out. When they did the collaboration with Hodinkee, they released 3 different models in batches of 500. They did this, which is a field watch, a GMT, and then a diver. And love all the layout and everything that comes with it. Hodinkee is actually an authorized dealer for UNIMATIC. And with this collaboration, they offered an extra year of warranty, so 3 years of international warranty, which is certainly nothing to turn your nose up at. I think that that's an absolutely awesome addition. Also, before we get into the watch itself, it did come with a secondary strap. Nice Cordura. Feels like it's pretty high quality. You know, it's a little bit stiff, but all of these types of straps are kind of built to be rugged and tough. And I was really excited to grab one of these. Like with most Hodinkee kind of limited editions, they tend to sell out pretty quick. But I love the California dial and just want to kind of share it with you guys and give you a better understanding of what this thing looks like up close. So the reference for this particular watch is U2-H. And after wearing this for a few days, I must say I'm really impressed with the sizing. They list these at 38.5 millimeters, and now I have measured this half a dozen different times and at different angles and tried to find that measurement. And honestly, when I'm going case to case here, I'm getting a lot closer to 38 flat. And I don't think that's an issue. The buyer of a 38.5 millimeter watch is probably going to be just as happy with a 38 millimeter watch. The only kind of word of caution I would give is that if you are hearing that or reading the specs and feeling like this is going to wear like a vintage watch or it's going to be undersized or mid-sized, try to find one in person and try it on. The rest of the measurements and how the watch feels on wrist really helps to kind of size it up and give you a lot of kind of beef and heft that make it feel a lot closer to a modern day sports watch than a vintage piece. And a lot of the marketing I saw for the watch, they talked about how incorporating a Swiss movement for the first time allowed them to slim up the case. And from the top of the bezel to the back of the case back, you're looking at a thickness of 11.8, so relatively thin. But then you have this big domed crystal, and when you take that into account, you're a lot closer to 15 millimeters, which just provides a little bit more size and wrist presence. The crown is 8 millimeters and just a pleasure to operate. You have really nice knurling on it, and while it's not signed, it does have a little bit of design to it. The little kind of dot or bump in the middle, I think ties in very nicely with the drilled lug holes, and it just looks very symmetrical. And when you're a brand that does fully brushed cases and pretty sterile dials, I feel like you're able to get away with crowns like this, and it really doesn't look like it was forced or a way to cut corners to save on costs. The case itself sits out very flat. There is no curvature to the lugs, which I really like. My wrist in general is very flat, so this fits me beautifully. The case itself here really does a nice job tapering down. It gets to about 3 millimeters at the tip, which is pretty drastic when you consider going from just under 12 millimeters all the way down to 3, but it just looks really good with the crystal, like it's one big sweeping flowing line. Your lug to lug measurement from tip to tip is 48 millimeters, but if you go in and measure at the drilled lug holes, you're looking at 44. So a really nice large footprint, but they did a good job to bring it in just a little bit, so it still wears very nice and comfortably, and it's going to fit a wide range of wrists. I really like that they went with a 22 millimeter lug width. It's just another aspect that makes it feel a little bit heftier, a little bit more masculine. The two-piece NATO the watch shows up on is nothing to write home about, but it's certainly decent quality. Pretty thick at 2.3, 2.4 millimeters. There's no taper at all, and then you jump up to 26 millimeters at the sign buckle. Another reason to like that 22 millimeter lug width are the strap options. At 20 and 22 millimeters, you're always going to have tons of opportunities to swap out straps and give your watch a little bit of new flavor. And this watch, being so simple, it really is a strap monster. The screw down case back is extremely well executed. The engraving is really crisp, and to be honest with you, it's kind of shallow. Which is nice. You don't have any hot spots as you run your finger across the back. It all feels very smooth and comfortable. Towards the center, you'll have the reference number, the numbered edition, and then UNIMATIC and Hodinkee. As you move out, you'll notice the placement of 6 different hands with some instructions around the outer rim. That's just explaining kind of an on-the-fly way to measure the distance to a target. It's not really practical for day-to-day use, but it does tie into the overall field watch theme really well. And then the outermost kind of ring around is just your general specifications with, made in Italy, the model, AR coating, and the water resistance. I really like the sapphire crystal they used. You have a nice pop of blue from the healthy application of anti-reflective coating. Additionally, while the watch does have a pretty severe dome, there is no distortion. And don't get me wrong, I've got watches that have a ton of distortion, and it's really nice to play around with in the light. But for a brand that really does a lot of simple designs that offer great visibility, I think it's a nice touch and fits the watch's overall aesthetic incredibly well. The dial and handset themselves are all painted a dark, I think the only thing I've seen it listed as is Hodinkee gray. Being a limited edition watch, I don't think they're going to have any other use for this particular color scheme. And like with a lot of Hodinkee models, you'll see the California dial. And I know these are always a bit divisive, but I think they're really cool. And if you're not familiar with why people do California dials, it just adds balance to the watch. A 1 and an 11 and a 2 and a 10 really don't balance well across from each other. And we all know, a watchmaker 4 with the 4 eyes is to help keep things simple at the bottom half. This is a nice way to get the best of both worlds and keep the watch just very elegant and design focused. So as you can see, there's a really nice application of Superluminova. It's not entirely consistent on the hands. You do see some dark patches, but all things considered, the overall legibility isn't going to suffer from that. That's just a little bit more of a QC issue. So here we are on my 7.5 to 7 3/4 inch wrist. As I mentioned, it's not a big, huge watch, but at the same time, there is a ton of wrist presence. In no way does it look dainty or mid-sized. It really wears kind of like a modern-day sports watch, and I think that's really impressive considering the width. So I really love that they upgraded the movement for this line. For the first time, UNIMATIC is using Swiss movements to power their watches. This particular one is powered by the Sellita SW200. That's plus or minus 12 to 30 seconds, hacking and hand winding. It is a date movement, so you have a ghost date. So as you go to set the time, you do have to pull out to the second click. But I've seen that done on far more expensive watches and given it a pass. And I think as long as the overall package is high enough quality and compelling enough, that's kind of easy to overlook. But one of the biggest things they did right was the collaboration with Hodinkee. and that now you have a product that has fantastic value retention. I looked around and I see guys trying to flip these for 1,000 to 1,200 USD, and I think that's a bit far-fetched, but I mean, I put this watch on eBay for a few days and got a handful of offers in the low to mid $800 range. And while it would have been easy to take the profit and put it towards the next watch, I really enjoy the piece, and I know that I can wear it for a couple years, not have to worry about scratches or anything, just really do what I want, and then still should be able to get all of my money back at the end of it. And anytime you can experience something new and cool and then send it down the road and get all of your money back, that's always going to be a win to me. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this closer look. If you have, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps in YouTube's algorithm. Also, consider subscribing. I'm putting out watch content weekly, and I hope to see you in the next one.